Welcome back.
Okay, so we're all about the holidays right now. We're
Yes.
really excited for the holidays, but we want to make sure all of our parents watching have all the tips they need to enjoying the holidays. So today we're speaking with Jamie Scrimgeour, and she is a blended family blogger and a step parenting coach. So we're speaking with Jamie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so we know there's a lot of blended families out there.
Yeah, I think that at Christmas time, this is especially obviously important because no family is the same, and it's important to be able to kind of understand how to navigate through Christmas when your family might be blended.
And we're trying to share as much information we can with our audience about how to have an enjoyable holiday.
Yeah.
So from your perspective, because you're an expert in this area, what are the things that we should be doing to prepare if we're in a blended family to keep the kids happy and the peace over the holidays?
Yeah. So when you have a blended family, you have two different families who are essentially splitting children over the holidays, right? Because you don't, if you and your husband or your ex-husband are divorced, you don't get to have your full Christmas holiday with your kids. Yeah. You are splitting them. There's a schedule, and it makes it a little more difficult because you have this picture perfect Christmas that is, portrayed in the media and on social media and all of that. And you really need to redefine what your picture perfect Christmas is going to look like, because it's not going to be the same as everyone else who has a normal family.
Yes, which why I think this is so fabulous and important is because there isn't that information out there, right? There's no model on the ABC family movies, right?
Right, and the last thing you want to do is enter the holidays without any plans, right? And being in limbo and having disagreements. It's not the time you want to do that. So one of your biggest points is being organized beforehand, right?
Yeah, so when you're separated or you're divorced, you most of the time have a separation agreement or a co-parenting plan, which can be a legal document, sometimes it's not, but it outlines how you're going to do things when it comes to the kids. Right. And a lot of the time, it's really vague. So it will say, Mom gets Christmas Day every other year and Dad gets Boxing Day every other year. Well, how do you make that happen, right?
Yeah.
That's so vague.
Yeah.
So, I really recommend that, a month before you take a look at the schedule and say, okay, how is that going to look? Who's going to do the pickups? Who's going to do the drop-offs? What time? Even things like, okay, when I drop the kids off on Christmas Day, do you want them to be dressed up in a nice outfit? Are you going to,
These are things that are important to plan.
Yeah, just so, there isn't that miscommunication on Christmas Day and, Mom's like, where are the kids? And Dad's like, oh, I thought you were picking them up, right?
Or why are they dressed like this? We're going to an event.
Why are they still in their pajamas, right? So it's really important to communicate how everything is going to play out. Right. So, there's no guessing at the end of the day, right?
Right, good call. Okay, what are some other tips that you think are the things that people should do beforehand?
I really think it's important that parents redefine what their picture perfect Christmas is going to look like, right?
Even for non-blended families.
Totally. Totally, right? You have to get used to the fact that you're not going to be with your kids for the entire holidays. And
that's probably really hard for some people.
Yeah, I cannot imagine waking up and not having my daughter with me on Christmas morning. To me, I could start crying thinking about that right now, but that's the reality for so many people, right? So, I think back to, my parents were divorced when I was growing up, and when we would leave my dad on Christmas Day, I remember feeling sick to my stomach every single time. Because we didn't want to leave him and we felt so bad that he was alone. But you know what he said to us? He said, Christmas is when I'm with my kids. So it doesn't matter what day it is on the calendar. When I'm with you guys, that's when I celebrate Christmas.
You're going to make me cry. It's so true.
I know. And
what a mature, amazing
And
approach.
my husband and I really have tried to adopt that attitude in our home. So birthdays, Christmases, all of that, we've really redefined what that perfect celebration looks like. And the day on the calendar does not matter.
Right. That is such a good point.
I think that that's a point that everybody can take home, and I think just in talking to their kids about that is really important, that what comes out of your mouth is ultimately what they're going to remember, right?
Yeah, and don't feel bad that Mom's alone. Like we shouldn't have our kids feeling bad
for us
on Christmas Day. This is about the kids, right? So really kind of instilling that attitude in the kids that it doesn't matter, we're all going to celebrate whenever we can is really, really important. And it's been helpful for my husband and I too with our schedule.
I would imagine too the first Christmas or first holiday season for a blended family is probably the hardest one. Would you think?
For sure. I'd say the first year that I was with my husband, we noticed that the holidays go so quick when you aren't in a blended family and you're not having 50-50 custody or splitting your time with another parent. They whiz by, and there's a lot of things that you want to do that you don't get around to doing. Well, when you have the kids half the time or every other weekend or whatever your schedule is, it really whizzes by, right? So a lot of the traditions that you want to do sometimes get missed. So I really encourage parents to schedule. So, you know, that first year when we were together, we missed, like, we didn't watch Home Alone, and we didn't end up doing the gingerbread cookies that we had, you know, really planned on doing. So now what we do is at the beginning of December, I get a calendar out and I plan. I plan Home Alone. When are we going to watch Christmas Vacation? When are we going to go look at the Christmas lights? Right? Like all the things that are really important to us to do. I plan that so that we make sure that we can fit it in, and you're not left feeling like you just got ripped off on your holiday season, right?
And so you're making these schedules with your ex, and I'm sure the kids are aware of the schedule as well, right?
Right.
So you have to let them know about what's happening when.
Totally. You know, it's really nice because during the holidays, your schedule does get, you know, flipped around a little bit, right? You have to be flexible because, you know, if you're, you know, you really try to plan your celebrations when you have the kids, but sometimes that's not possible because Aunt Martha planned a Christmas when the kids are with their dads, right? So, you know, how do you deal with that? It's just about being flexible. The kids are not possessions.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you kind of talked about that this earlier.
Yeah, so
that's an important one because I think people use kids sometimes in those situations.
Yeah, I often hear, you know, this is my time with the kids. Oh no, that's my time with the kids. And it is essentially your time with the kids. But especially in the holiday season, you have to be flexible because you don't want the kids missing out on a celebration with their cousins because they're with their dad, right? It's not their fault that this is their situation. So, you know, going back to that calendar, you know, we outline where are the kids during, you know, this weekend? What are we going to do during this week so that they know what to expect as well? And I find that helps to ease a bit of the anxiety.
Right.
I think one of the best things is to remember is that it is about the kids and what you want them to remember about their childhood, right?
Yeah. You know, a couple months ago, I was scrolling through my Facebook news feed and I saw this, you know, an infographic or whatever, and it said, what do you want your kids to remember about their childhood? And that has stuck with me every single day since. I always think about that. And, you know, that's important for blended families, non-blended families, just parents in general. But, you know, when it comes to the holidays, co-parenting, what do you want your kids to remember about Christmas with a divorced family, right? Like, you want them to remember that, oh, mom was upset at dad because dad was late, or dad brought us in, you know, ratty clothing when mom wanted us to go to this family thing after, or, you know, there was an argument over who was going to get what present. Or do you want them to look back on it and go, you know what?
They rocked that.
It was fun.
Yeah, that was
I got
fun.
time with mom, I got time with dad, and we did so many things. It was amazing.
Yeah, you know, I look back on my Christmases growing up, I was like, I got 2 celebrations. That was like the time where it was good to have divorced parents, right? You know, you kind of got both.
Well, Jamie, you're such a good example of a blended family who is doing very well, and you have fantastic tips for all of our parents out there. So thanks so much for speaking with us today.
Yeah, well, thank you so much.
And hopefully our audience can take these tips and apply them to their lives. And if you want to learn more about Jamie Scrimgeour and you want to learn about her different tips and all the things she shares about blended families, you can check out her website at jamiescrimgeour.com, or you can find her on social media as Jamie Scrimgeour.
Make sure to stay tuned because we're going to talk about managing your expectations over the holidays with Kelly Boring next.